Hello and welcome to the Milestone Screencast for my website I'm building in CST 120 Web Dev class. So basically we'll just go through and we'll look at the code first. So as you can see, I have all my CSS within a CSS folder. I have all my images in an images folder, all my JavaScript and JavaScript folders, and I do have some extra media stuff here, and then all my actual HTML documents are here. And if you check out my sitemap, it's still pretty much the same. There's the home page that links to 5 different other pages, and that's about it. And then the wireframe is pretty much the same that it is for all 5 pages. But if you go ahead and we look at the main differences I made, the main difference I made is I added this Nav Bar. So I know Professor Rihas said that, add a Nav Bar because he didn't like how I had to scroll to the bottom of the page to get back to the home page. So I figured might as well make a Nav Bar, and that's what my majority of the work I did for this week, this milestone, was on. So I have this is pretty much the nav.css file, and I just kind of copied this over into the other CSS files I have. And then here's the actual nav components, and I'll explain to you what this nav.js file does. And obviously I have a modal.js file, and I have and I put all the JavaScript code from the score tracker page into this external style sheet as well, instead of having it inside the actual main file. But let's just go ahead and switch over to the actual page and check it out. So the first event handler I already had a couple JavaScript event handlers on my site already, but because most of my time was spent in Nav Bar, I just decided to do a simple one at the very homepage, which is show website map. And once you click it, it opens a modal, and the modal just kind of shows what the website looks like. And there's a couple ways to close out of it. Either I could hover over here and close out of it this way, or I could open it back up and I could do a window.click. So if I click off of it, the modal, it'll close. Or for big web pages, when you go all the way down, I realized like clicking off to the side was not working, so I just did a close map button at the bottom. So that's pretty much the first event handler for JavaScript I have got going on. Also you can see like it allows you to select hover animations over which page you want to go to. But we'll start off with the about me page. And right away, what you should notice is up here is there is now a nav bar implemented, and then it highlights which page you're on. Obviously, if I click home, it'll take me here, but if I click about me, highlight the about me page, and all of this is still pretty good. And here's another JavaScript function I put on very early, but is basically the sound one I had. So I didn't really have to implement too much. And then as you see, when I click onto the next one, it changes, and this is all due to the JavaScript. So if I go back to JavaScript, the nav file I was talking about, as you can see, it gets the document, the title of the page, and then it uses a switch statement to kind of switch to the color of the actual link we're on. So this is pretty much the same. And this is the back to home page I corrected, because like every time you go back here, it doesn't really, it's not as good looking as a nav bar at the top. And so from here you could go to projects. Projects is pretty much still the same. You just open up, you can zoom in on an image, and then as you can see, it's highlighted again. And you could also see there's like a cursor change. Go to animation studio. I just pretty much added in 2 new animations here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's still pretty much the same, but everything has a nav bar at the top. Go over here, and obviously this page has a lot of JavaScript on it as well. Like once you click here, you can enter a name, and it sets it up. And then these are all JavaScript click functions, as you can tell already. So I already had multiple JavaScript, so I was kind of lazy on it. I was like, let me just focus on the nav bar. That was kind of, not difficult to implement, but it just took a while, especially because of the margining on the sides, and then the fact that these pages were already built. And so a lot of the time was taken into building the CSS and all this. But yeah, this is pretty much what the page is looking like so far. So we'll go back to home page, and I guess we could look at the code a little bit. So let's go see the CSS, I guess. So for the CSS, as you can see, for all of them, I have CSS for smaller screen sizes using media tags. So this was a really big part in making the website really responsive. And then for the nav bar, I have a nav last child, which fixes the margining, and the first child fixes the margining, and then obviously the nav bar components, and for the list items and hover animations, list hover animations, all this and that, and yada yada yada. And yeah, so let me go ahead and just show like the responsiveness of the website now. So let me switch back over here. And so let's go ahead and try this. So as you can see, I open up the modal, and if I start changing the screen size, you can see it's pretty responsive, and this is due to the media tags pretty much. Let's go check out the about me page. This should still pretty much be the same, but I think I changed this up a little bit too. So as you can see, oh yeah, that's also the other thing about the nav bar, is that once it reaches like 800 pixels or something, it switches to an actual drop down list versus the horizontal. So if I go back, you see how it switches down like that, and no matter which link I click into, like it's still the same styling, and the only difference is like it'll go bold or something. So if you click the same one, obviously it's gonna stay on the same page. And yeah, so click photos, it highlights photos. Nav bar still looks the same. Click projects, nav bar still looks the same. The only reason photo changes is because the scroll bar kind of makes it pop out to the right. And yeah, and then this is still pretty responsive as well. You know, this, I would say this took a lot of time too to be able to set up properly, so you can see how responsive it is. And yeah, this is pretty much the update for this milestone. Hopefully I was able to cover it pretty well. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.